Hi, I'm Jenny, and this is Life Take Two. And today I have a special little surprise. Do you want to introduce yourself, or shall I introduce you?
Am I little?
Did I say little surprise? Okay, I have a big, manly 6'2" and a pinch surprise so that we can have a little conversation. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Kevin.
And
I'm the lesser half of the two of us.
I don't think that you're the lesser half. Cute. All right. And Kevin, welcome to my studio, also known as our tiny master bedroom in our apartment. I guess you've been here before. It's great to have you tonight.
Couple times.
This is so fun. Okay. So guys, I hope to have Kevin on at least once a week because
On good nights.
where are
I'm not
you?
on the couch.
Have you ever been on the couch without me? Like in our entire time together, have you ever had to go sleep on the couch?
No.
Okay, thank you. Because I don't want people to think that I'm making you sleep on the couch. What we hope to do is once a week have a couples dialogue. For the 4 years that I've been on social media and YouTube, I have focused primarily on my escape from Mormon trad wife life and how I rebuilt. But I haven't really focused a lot on relationships and what came after that. So I'm going to dive into the Life Take Two and what happened in the second act. And Kevin is going to be here to help with that. So tonight, first I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about our first date. And I didn't prep you for this. People always ask how we met. That's a big topic of conversation. We're going to do that in a totally separate video. But I wanted to answer a question for a follower about our first date.
Are you sure we're both on the same?
I don't know if we're on the same. No, I don't. Dive right in.
I don't know if I had been at work or it was just my day with my kids or what, but I was running them back home and I was headed east and there was just a fire that had popped up out in the Superstition Mountains. And so I called Jenny and I said, hey, you want to jump in the Jeep tonight and go see how close we could get to this fire to see where it's at, what's burning. It's getting dark. I can see it on the horizon right now. It looked really cool. Natural fireworks type thing.
It was a huge wildfire.
So
like smoke all over the Phoenix Valley. It was massive.
Yeah. So are we on the...
That was not our first date.
Okay.
But that was great. And that was one of the best dates ever. So you picked me up in the Jeep.
That was like early.
But that wasn't our very first date. But I remember that night. That was like one of our first dates. You had the sexiest voice. So I pick up my phone and here's sexy Kevin saying, hey, do you want to go watch the fire burn up close? Just so manly, so primal.
Not at all.
So we hop in the Jeep and we get as close as we can to the fire. And you brought your Bose speaker. You had like quilts and stuff. And we climbed up on top of the Jeep and literally danced under the moonlight, watching this huge wildfire blazing off in the distance. Even not even that much of a distance. And
it was enough of a distance. We don't need to worry anybody.
We weren't, we hadn't gone past where the fire line was or anything. We just were as close as we could get without being in danger.
In a good spot that we could see it.
That was that was so fun. Like so adventurous, so wild. Okay, next time we're going to talk about our actual first date, but I absolutely love that. Okay, so my question for you tonight is, when did you know that you were falling in love with me? Do you have a time in mind when you were like, oh, this is when I started to know that this was my person? And I do have one in mind since I'm the one that came up with the question. Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
You go first.
Your eyes look really blue on my camera. So blue. Okay, I'll go first. So I invited you to go up Camelback with me. And I wasn't feeling good. I didn't realize at the time that I had a brain injury that was starting to really take its toll on me. So I was having a lot of nerve pain, but I love to hike. So we woke up early one Saturday morning and I invited you to come hike Camelback. It was the first time that we'd ever hiked together. And I had this massive migraine. I was feeling tired. And I think that it was super hot too, because we met in May. We started dating like the beginning of June in Arizona. So super hot. It was probably like 100+ degrees. And we get out of the car, we start through Echo Canyon and start up the mountain. And right away you were like, hey, give me your backpack. And I flat out refused. I was like, I had this rule. If I can't carry my own pack, then I do not deserve to be hiking because I am a feminist to the core. Plus, I'd been single for a while, so I'm not about to let some guy carry my backpack. So I refused, and we had a lot of water just because it was so hot. I don't know. I go overboard with water, huh? Too. I'm OCD about the hydration. I gave you a pack, and we both had a bunch of water. And you said, just put all of your water and your backpack in my pack. And I refused. Every however many, like 10 minutes, we'd stop to drink water. And at our first little hydration stop, you said, hey, can I just grab something out of your backpack? Because I don't want to open mine up. You drink one of my water bottles. And halfway up the hike, my pack was already completely empty. And then all of a sudden I caught on. I was like, wait a minute. Are you just drinking my water so that my pack is light? And you're like, yeah, I knew that you weren't going to give me your pack and I wanted you to be able to be independent. But since you weren't going to give me your pack, then I decided that we could just drink all of your water first. Like literally standing there on that mountain, I was like, this is the most amazing man that I've ever met in my life. This is my person. Henny, that is like right when I fell in love with you, like right there on that mountain. So that was it for me. What about you?
It's funny because, I
don't even know what you're going to say. Like, I
Well-
literally don't know. Like, when was that moment?
I think there were like these glimpse moments. And this will leave people questioning, but there were moments before we even met that I'm like, I love this girl.
Okay, so we have to talk about that in another video because
Another
Kevin
video.
is one of my followers. That's a really good
Unbeknownst.
point because like you knew me online long before we ever met. And I have to say that's not weird because I do have like friends and followers online who are like, I love you so much. And they've never met me. Okay.
But when we did happen to meet in person in a very unique way,
We're not going to talk about that in this video.
the time that we spent together just always was like this just perfect connection. And
It was so easy.
we'd go on bike rides and walks, and it was just always this perfect connection. But I have to say that for me, we had to find a place that we could live. And we
After
were looking
I lost my condo. Yeah.
and we were looking at homes and had found one that we really liked. And it had been staged or whatever for rental or whatever. And I can remember going in there when we thought that for sure that this was probably the place that we would get to measure things and stuff. And
remember that night.
we were measuring things in the living room to see if this stuff would fit or that would fit.
I'm going to cry on my own video.
Into the master bedroom, and we're checking sizes for dressers. And yeah, I just like, how would we set this up? And we just both laid flat on the bed and just
we shouldn't have been laying on the
daydreamed.
bed. They had staged the house for people to see it and stuff. And we like laid down on the bed. All we did was lay on it. That's it.
Yeah,
we're just laying on the bed talking.
It was like we were laying there and just planning the next 60 years of our life. And that's just what it felt like, that this was the start of the next 60, 70 years.
I forgot all about that night. Okay, so that is so beautiful. And also, we only lived in that house for 3 months? And then we lost that home and ended up in our next house. Yeah, I remember you had a little measure. Yeah, you had the tape measure like on your belt and everything. And we measured everything and kind of figured out like, where can we put our bed? Where can we put our dresser? And that feeling of, oh my God, like we had decided to move in together. And that was the beginning of our life. I forgot all about that night. Okay, so the reason I wanted to discuss this isn't just so that we can do a cute little video about the moment that we knew that we were in love. Started to begin have those feelings that we were falling for each other. There are 3 primary needs of relationships: belonging, support, and validation. And you have to have those components. There's different ratios. Some people need more belonging out of their relationship. Some people need more validation. I'm a validation person, which is why I tell you 1,000 times a day how hot you are and like how amazing you are and things like that. So we all have different ratios, but those are the three primary needs. And unfortunately, when people begin to date and fall in love, what we're basing our life decisions on and basing that decision to move in with somebody or possibly commit or get married even, what we base a lot of that on today is just chemistry. My first marriage, and not to take anything away from my first husband, my first marriage was just based on the Holy Ghost. I had priesthood leaders who told me this is who you're supposed to marry. Then I said a prayer and I thought that confirmed it. And so I got married based on just religious concepts, not having any idea of what I needed from a partner and what the needs of relationships were at all. And as I started to date, it was just sparks and chemistry. And when you have a true sustaining connection with somebody, then it's because those three primary needs are being met. So I want to just take a quick little peek at, can we pull some of those needs out of those first moments when we started to feel like we cared for each other? So for me, hiking Camelback and you drinking all of my water so that my backpack would be light. I think I always took like a gallon with me. I had so many water bottles stuffed in my backpack and it was heavy and I had a headache. So when I started to feel like you were my person, like this could be somebody that I could spend my life with, and I was really feeling loved and supported and I was feeling like I loved you, I would say that you made me feel very supported and validated. Both of those things, which are very healthy reasons to fall in love with somebody, were the two things that were at play in my initial feelings of love for you. You totally supported me by literally drinking my water and then trying to take my backpack from me. And you validated me by not like saying, you're a girl, you can't carry this. It's 100 degrees outside. Hey, give me your backpack. And you didn't invalidate me in any way or do anything that would have been anti-feminist. Heaven forbid. You validated and supported me and made me feel like you were a safe relationship. So that was me. Okay, so for you, we're in this little home that we're going to rent together for a few months, and we're measuring things and just holding hands, laying on the bed, talking about our future. So of those three primary needs of human relationships, belonging, support, and validation, what ingredients were there for you?
I would say for me, the biggest one was belonging. Just because I don't know that a person could ever put it into words or explain to other people, but from the time we met, it just seemed that everything always just fell into a place of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, in what would be our first, or possibly, it wasn't
Our
a
first
done
home
deal, but our first
together.
home together, our starting of everything, it felt so belonging in a way. It felt, even though this was our first home together, it was like we'd been doing this together forever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is now taking this next bigger step. And the pieces just fell together so well. You have your artistic ability and designer. I've always had a little bit of that anyway. And we just, things just seem to match.
Yeah.
But then I'm a numbers guy and I love preciseness and measuring and
I don't.
logistics. But it was in that whole conversation, as we planned ahead, there was not a battle, right? It was these pieces that just, you fit with me in everything that we discussed.
Remember when we were first dating and I had told you that you felt like an old pair of socks? Like you were just like best clean one. You were just like the most comfortable, just worn in pair of socks, that like those ones that you just want to lounge around in on a Saturday. Like, and you just felt like home.
Yeah. From the very beginning, the first time we actually talked online and talked on the phone and everything, it's just, it was like we fit, like we literally belonged together, like we had known each other forever in some ways. And so I'd say belonging was a big one, but I can look at millions of ways that support and validation also came into play early on in our relationship. That's I probably could dig deep and make it sound silly, but there was a lot of stuff where she was my cheerleader in ways that I had never been pushed before. I had gifts and talents, but never someone to really support that or validate that, to push that, to tell me to step out of my box and fly or whatever. And I've really felt that from her. So I think at this moment of renting a home together, it just all came into this. This is a validation of this relationship. This is the validation of who you are as a supporting partner and vice versa. And then just, I don't know, in that moment, laying just side by side, dreaming of like forever is what it feels like. Just tons of support. Like this is something we're going to literally do side by side with each other for the long future ahead.
So I remember really early on in our relationship that like that side by side support, when you would verbalize that to me, you would say side by side, like we're doing life side by side. And that was something that I had never had before. I had never had somebody like I was always just tag team in my former relationship with my husband and other men that I had dated. And to have somebody who was just right there side by side. So then we did move into that house for a few months. And I remember one day when you decided to go out and clean out the garage get all of our boxes and stuff because we had to move in and still had a whole bunch of boxes. And I hopped up and said, hey, yeah, I'll come out with you. And I remember how shocked you were. You're like, you're just going to come clean the garage with me on a Saturday? You're just okay. And that like side by side doing things together. And so how long have we been together, Kev?
5.5 years.
And how's it going so far on a scale of 1 to 10? How would you rate our relationship?
11.
Well, I love that. I agree 100%, 1000%. Those components that we saw in the very beginning of our relationship with the belonging and the support, which was a big one for both of us, and that validation, would you say that those have carried over to today?
Absolutely.
Like actual today, like this Saturday, right now, today, we've spent the whole day together.
It's a Saturday. Our weeks are busy. We each kind of go our own ways, do our things, and enjoy our evenings together. But the weekends always start early on a Saturday morning. And just I guess for me, every Saturday waking up and it's always, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What's your plans? What's your plans? And for me, it's about, again, the belonging piece. And I don't really care what we're doing as long as it's something that we're doing together. And a lot of time it means a hike or a walk. And this morning today just turned into how things don't always work out, but we decided to go hike a mountain. And when we got to the top of a mountain and we're looking over the top of Tucson,
I have a video
there's a mission garden down below. And it's like, it was obvious that there was something going on down at the mission garden. So I looked it up on the internet and it was an event that was right down Jenny's alley. And so,
yeah, it was the Native Artisans annual craft fair at the oldest garden site in Tucson. Absolutely amazing. So I have a new ring that's absolutely beautiful.
So we finished a beautiful walk and time together and talking about things, and then headed over to the Mission Garden and got to take in some Native American music and stories.
That was incredible.
And went through some of the crafts, and then
Navajo tacos
for lunch.
Yeah, so good.
And turquoise. It's just those things belong in our life as much as we belong doing things together. This afternoon was a little different. There was a football game I was interested in. Jenny had some videos to do, and it doesn't quite feel right when we aren't doing something together on a Saturday when we're both here at home.
So I was really appreciating the support, though, of you taking care of lunch and the kitchen and everything. while I was working on content and talking to my business partner and all that stuff. So I certainly felt the support and the validation by you taking care of stuff. So we still have those components 5.5 years later. And my final question for you is, if you had married somebody just based on good vibes, warm fuzzy, the Holy Spirit, and that spark chemistry, how far do you think that would have gotten our relationship? Because you certainly had that with other people. Like there were people that you could have dated and you had a lot of spark with. Do you think it's a good idea to be in a long-term committed relationship with somebody just based on a spark and warm fuzzies?
I think sparks and warm fuzzies are nice, but they don't last. Okay. It's called a spark because it sparks and then it's a warm fuzzy is going to cool down. And after a while, it's not fuzzy anymore. And I don't think you can't have a true relationship without those three things.
Yep.
And I think that the sad part is sometimes within those sparks and those warm fuzzies, it feels like there's support and it feels like there's belonging and it feels all those things. But you have to almost, I think, throw out the warm fuzzies. I think if through Jenny for a loop one time, we were talking and
you told me I didn't give you goosebumps. Is that what you're going to say?
Butterflies.
Yeah. You said, oh my gosh, I'm still scarred. You told me when we were first dating and like we were going to move in together, like you asked me to move in with you and stuff. And no, I asked you. We're talking about moving in together. And I was just trying to assess where we're at with the relationship. And you said you don't give me butterflies.
Yeah. And what I meant by that was it wasn't these false feelings of, obviously she took it really bad, but I guess what I told her is I don't have the warm fuzzies. I literally feel at home.
Yeah, you did. You said you feel like my home. Before asking you these questions and asking you to shoot this video tonight, I went through some of the other relationships that I'd had prior to you. So my husband of 24 years and my fiance that I was engaged to in college, and then a couple of the men that I had serious long-term relationships before I met you after my divorce. And I assessed in the beginning when I started to fall in love with them, what was it? And none of them had these ingredients. None of them, it was because they supported me, validated me, or made me feel like I belonged to their pack. In every instance, it was St. George Sean was just hot and successful, and I admired him, and he was amazing, and I just felt lucky to be with him. But there was no component of those first little bits of me feeling like I had feelings for him that in any way indicated that he was going to be supportive, that he was going to pull me into his tribe, or that he was going to validate me. And those three things are the necessary ingredients for any successful relationship. They're why humans enter into relationships to begin with. So for all of you out there who are watching, if you're in the beginnings of a relationship, or if someday down the road you might be, when you start to feel like you're really into that person, this is the test. Break down those feelings and look for those three ingredients. Are you feeling like that person is supporting you, that they're going to be there to help you and walk beside you in life? Are they pulling you into their tribe? Do they make you feel like you belong, that you're a family, that this is your home?
Here.
And are they validating you?
The belonging piece has to be a natural piece. You can't be doing things just like, I'm trying to make myself fit here.
That's
if
so
I do
important.
this and then that, it's not a matter of fitting in. It's just this as natural as a degree. Do you feel like you belong? Do they make you feel like you belong? You don't have to try to fit in, try to make this person love you, try to do things to attract this person or whatever. It's got to be something that just comes natural, as natural as you breathe. I want to make sure that because I think too often, yeah, I belong, but it's because all the work that I put into it, all the things that I've done to make it feel like I belong with this person. And belonging isn't something you should work for. It's something that it just is.
I think there's probably a lot of psychology behind that around bonding and acceptance and just evocative cues that make you feel like that person isn't the right attachment style for you. Maybe they're not as into you. Maybe this isn't a tribe that you're naturally going to gel with. So that's probably another topic that we could dive deep into in another video, is that inherent, natural, organic, spontaneous bonding that people have. Because I think that there's a lot of psychology that we can explore on that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's each of these topics could probably be just a video.
yeah, I know. That's why you're going to be here every week. Thank you for being here this week in my studio in our bedroom. And thank you guys for watching. We'll be doing this every week. And I'm really excited to help bring some of the tools that have helped Kevin and I after having relationships, obviously, in the past that failed, thus the life take to have a happy, healthy, thriving relationship in our second act of life. As always, please subscribe and comment. I don't always get to answering all the comments, but my favorite thing about doing these videos is to hear the stories of others around the world. So I'd love to hear when you fell in love with your significant other and what components of healthy relationships that support belonging and validation really stood out to you. Anything you'd like to say?
Just thank you for listening.
All right. Have a good night, guys. Bye.